Okay, so we're going to continue from last week's presentation on how to start your own business. Today there's quite a bit of information that I'm going to go over. Last week was very introductory on basically the fundamentals and the basic things you need to start looking at and preparing when you want to start your own business. Today we're going to dig in a little deeper so that you think about the things that are important and what's going to make your business succeed or not. If it wants to work. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so continuing from last time, the 5 signs that you're ready to basically start your own business. Sign number 1, your job is no longer fulfilling. Sign number 2, you understand the risks of starting a business. Sign number 3, you have an idea that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, that you want to get into the market. Number 4, you have a support system, whether it's at home or friends, you have a strong support system. And the last thing is knowing what's important to you. So those are some of the things we talked about last time. Then we talked about how to build a business plan, how to choose a good name for your business, which is extremely important, and how to finance your business, where to get money from to get your business started. So we're going to dig in a little deeper, and especially when it comes to thinking about the business itself and how to build a business plan. So things you need to consider for your business. First and foremost, this is extremely important, you have to look at what the licensing and legal issues are for every business. Depending on the kind of business you want to write or you want to start, every business requires certain licensing. We talked about it last time. Whether you're a contractor, that requires a certain license. If you want to start a pharmacy, you require a certain license. If you want to open up a restaurant, you require a certain license. Even if you want to do real estate, you require a certain license. Any type of business you start requires licensing, and there's legal issues that you have to sort out before getting started. You can't just start your business from nothing. The second thing that's important before you start a business is making sure you have the skills, the experience, and the training in the type of business that you want. For example, just because you've eaten at a lot of restaurants doesn't mean you're ready to open up a restaurant. You have to know how to cook. You have to know, what people are looking for. You may enjoy the food and you eat it, but you're not ready. If you want to open up a pharmacy, you probably have to understand a little bit about the medication that's getting dispensed. You can't just go and open up a pharmacy without having the necessary skills, the necessary training, and even something that seems as simple as real estate, because I heard that one a lot actually over the last week. Even something that seems as simple as real estate, it requires a knowledge and an understanding, and having the right skills and the right training to be able to function in that business. The next thing that I put here is mentors. So making sure you have somebody that you can go to, that you can consult with for business. There's no such thing as a business that succeeds on its own. No business person is just born with business skills. No one just succeeds without having someone around to be able to ask questions, get ideas from, in order to succeed. And I put this one very high up at the top because even before you're doing your business plan and you're starting to think about your business, have somebody that you can consult with and ask questions to. You may get a different point of view, you may get a different response, you may think you have the greatest idea in the world, but when you start consulting with people, they may tell you, it's not that good, or maybe you didn't think about this would be better, or this will work better. Having a mentor, someone you can consult with, is extremely important. The next one is insurance, and I didn't just put this up because I'm in insurance. This is actually an extremely important one, especially when people don't understand what kind of insurance they require. I see it all the time where business owners will start a business and they don't have the necessary protections, such as consultants. Consultants is a great one. A lot of people want to start a business in consulting. They want to do contract work, especially in the oil and gas field, but they don't have the necessary protection in the event that something happens. We live in a country where liability and you being at fault is a pretty big deal. And you can't just assume that you can get something started without having the proper protection in place. So insurance is a pretty important one. And something to consider as well because of the cost associated with insurance. Not every business has cheap insurance. Insurance can be extremely expensive depending on the type of business that you have. If you feel like you want to start a business that is distributing fireworks, you're probably going to have a lot more expensive insurance than someone who wants to sell hot dogs. And even the person who sells hot dogs requires a certain type of insurance as well. So thinking about these things ahead of time is extremely important. The next one is your route to market. So how are you actually going to sell your product or your service or your idea into the market? And there's a lot of different ways to do it. Basically, you're trying to answer the question, where's my business going to come from? Am I going to do it online? Am I going to do it through telephone sales? Am I going to do it through networking? Am I going to go to different events and try to meet people and try to get business that way? This is one of the most fundamental questions to ask. It's a lot different than just marketing. When we talk about marketing, that's the piece that's after this, after you've decided which way you want to go, and then you have to understand how much it's going to cost to go down that way. Every path to get to market has a cost to it. You want to find the one that has the least cost first, because you probably aren't starting with a lot of money. But there's different avenues and different things you have to consider regarding how you're going to get to market, how you're going to sell your product, and which avenues you're going to take. And then, as you're figuring out how you're going to go to market, you have to establish, and this is a term you're going to hear often in the business world or in the sales world, unique sales position. So really, what makes you any different than anybody else? Why are they going to spend money with you versus someone else? If you're going to open up a pharmacy, what is going to make somebody walk through your door to buy their medication from you versus somebody who's already established? Or if you're going to open up a restaurant, why is a customer going to come spend money at your restaurant and want to eat your food versus other places that are established? So you have to be able to figure out something that's going to differentiate you in the market. It could be quality, it could be service, it could be a number of things. what I don't recommend it be, but it depends on the market, I don't recommend it be price. Price is one of the toughest things to start a business with when you start toying with price, because if you're competing against companies that are significantly bigger, they will be able to get their prices much lower than yours because they have size and they have scale. So going into a business just undercutting on price does not necessarily mean you will win. And more often than not, you probably won't. You have to have something else that differentiates. And we live in a world, and most of you are like that. Most people think about price in terms of the things they buy. Well, if you think of the places where you're buying these things, they're probably bigger places like Walmart or Costco. You're not going to find lower prices at a store on Kensington that's selling certain items, but these businesses still survive because they have something unique that's different that Costco may not offer or that Walmart may not offer. But every business has to establish what is different, what's unique, and how they're going to get it out into the market. For sure. It depends what your overhead is, though, right? If your overhead is only you, because if you're offering a service, let's say, and you're not selling anything, like you're not selling something tangible, and you're just offering a service, well, yeah, the only overhead cost is yourself, because you are the product, you are the service. But if you're selling something, if you're trying to resell something, even let's say, I'll use pharmaceuticals, because there's a lot of pharmacists in the community. If you're talking about pharmaceuticals, you still have to purchase that medication from a distributor. Or if you're going to be opening up a restaurant, you still have to purchase the food, you have to purchase the plates and the chairs and the tables and everything else, all the other things that's needed for a restaurant. If you're buying it in smaller volume, your cost is actually higher than someone that can buy it at a bigger volume. So you may have less overhead because you don't have as many staff, you don't have, some other costs, but scale is different. You have to compare in scale. And that's why I said it also depends on what type of business. It's not the rule of law, it's just typically that's what it is. If you can't differentiate yourself when you only become about price, somebody will always have a lower price. And they may be able to offer more at that price. So it's a very, very dangerous game to play when you're just talking about price. The next thing you want to define is who is your target audience. So whether you are opening up a business on a corner, on a street corner, or whether you are a consultant that's selling a service to someone, you have to define who is your audience, who is going to be your customer. And then you have to dig in even deeper. The key here is you have to focus on a specific target. You can't have everyone be your audience. If you're selling pizza, for example, if you want to open up a pizza shop, are you going to be selling pizza to everyone who wants to eat pizza? Probably not. Because even in that, there's two different markets in pizzas. There's people that want fast food pizza, they just want to buy it by the slice. You'll find a lot of those shops downtown. And there's shops like Pizza Hut and Papa John's that will have, faster food that delivers for dinner and delivers to homes and businesses and birthday parties. That's a different market. And then you have your high-end pizza shops. In Calgary, there's shops like Famoso and Double Zero, where you're paying significantly more for the pizza, but it's a higher quality pizza, and that's a different audience. Every single one of those, even though they're just selling pizza, every one of those has a target audience, and you have to establish your target audience so that you can figure out what's your differentiator and how you're going to price your product or service. Even when you're doing something like consulting work, you want to determine, am I going after big companies? Am I going after the Incanas to try to get work? Am I going to go after Suncor? Or am I going to go after smaller engineering companies? Each one has a different target, each one has a different focus, and each one even has a different pricing. So you have to really establish, what is it that I'm selling? How am I going to sell it? And who am I going to sell it? All these things make a big difference on how you're going to establish your business. If you try to become all things to all people, you will ultimately fail because you're going to spread yourself out too thin. But if you target who you're after and who you want to sell to, you have a significantly higher chance of success. These are extremely important questions that have to be answered while you're doing your discovery in the business planning process. The next thing to understand is sizing up the competition. Unless you're creating something brand new that the world has never seen, it's been done before. It's been done before, it's been done before, it's been done before. What you have to figure out is who's doing it, how they're doing it, and what they're doing wrong. Most of the world's greatest businesses and the most successful businesses were born out of mistakes or lack of service or lack of product. The best example that everyone is reading about right now is Uber. Uber was born out of a lack of service and a lack of availability in the transportation industry. Taxis have been around forever. Now, here comes an app. All it is an app. If you think about it, they don't own cars, they don't dispatch cars, it's an app. But that app is now turning upside down an industry that's been around for years, since the invention of the car. But because they understood what their competitor was doing, taxis, they were frustrated by the service that was available, and so they basically jumped on that. They said, okay, this is what they're doing wrong, here's what we're going to do better. And that's what they grew. So in your business, you have to think, what is being done, and what can I do better? And can I offer something better? Even if it's food, even if it's a service, even if whatever it is. That's part of the differentiator, is knowing your competition and how to do it better. And again, I go back to the price piece. If you just solely make it on price, ultimately you're going to hurt yourself too. Because most businesses don't succeed on price. I mean, let's be honest, if anybody's ever walked into Costco and bought anything from Costco, you know that Costco's actually not that cheap. I don't know anybody that ever walks into Costco and doesn't spend less than $200 or $300 at a time, when really all you wanted to do was go in and get milk. That's business. So it's not necessarily just about price, but Costco understands what their competitors are doing. Every business has to understand what their competitors are doing and how to do it better than them. And the last thing is technology. And I purposely put this one on because this is now officially one of the biggest things that is going to differentiate any business in the modern world. Any business in the modern world has to be differentiated now by technology. Doesn't matter what kind of business it is, any business. So you have to think about technology for things like how to save time, how to save money, how to stay in control of your business, whether it's managing inventory, managing cash, anything like that. How to make more sales, how to use technology to grow your business and sell more. And how to deliver better customer service, using technology to deliver better customer service. Those are some of the things you need to think about in any business now. Doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, or a pharmacy, or real estate, anything. Technology is at the heart of every single business. It's something very important you have to think about in every business. So what can you expect? You're ready, you've thought about all these things, you're starting to write a business plan, you're getting things together, and now you want to start a business. Well, here's the first thing you can expect. And I'm not trying to scare anybody with these, but you have to be aware of these things. The first thing is, you will lose money. You will not make money. You can't expect to make money as soon as you open up your door. It's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. There are very, 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 very few businesses that have ever succeeded as soon as they open up their doors. So you have to expect, at first, you will lose money. The second thing to expect, you will lose money. You have to expect it. And I'm really hammering this point home because this is all part of the planning that you do early in terms of how to finance your business, how to capitalize your business, and we're going to talk later about how to manage cash flow. No business makes money right from the beginning, and you have to be prepared and finance yourself enough that you will not make money at first. It takes time to make contacts. It takes time and money to get customers. It takes time to build your name, to build a brand. These things take time and it takes money to do these things. So you're not going to get an instant return. I talk to a lot of business owners that think just because they've built a website and they're ready to sell online, that as soon as they turn on the website, they're going to start making money right away. What they forget is, the internet is kind of a big place. There's billions of websites out there. If people don't know, if your consumer doesn't know you exist, you're not going to make money. You have a website, it has the ability to make money, but now you have to put even more money into getting that word out, into establishing that brand, into getting someone to come to your site or come to your business or use you as a contractor over somebody else. Those things take time. It takes time to network and do all that. So that's why I wanted to make sure the first two expectations is don't expect to make money right away. You're in it for the long haul. If you're in it to make money for 2 or 3 years, you're not meant to be a business person. If you're planning on doing it for 10, 20 years, yes, you're meant to do it because it takes time to build that up. Some businesses do it faster, some businesses do it slower. But it's time. The other thing that you have to expect is no matter how much planning you do, you can write the greatest business plan and you can think about everything, but you have to expect that 100% of the time, something unexpected will happen. Something will happen. And you have to be prepared for it. This is why it's prudent to have a good plan. In fact, for those who want to see the business plan, the Sharp Insurance's business plan, when you read our business plan and how we started, we are nothing like how we planned. Because things happened along the way, and you have to change that your business may not end up being what it was as you originally planned it. So you have to plan for some of the unexpected things. But some of those unexpected things, and I can confidently say some of those things happened in my own business, are part of the reason why we became successful. It's because we had to change very quickly and make adjustments from where we wanted to go, and then we eventually became successful that way. We actually had to, from where we originally started in our early years, we had to shut down the whole division and lay off people and realign where we were focusing in order to come back much stronger. That wasn't part of the plan, but those are the things we had to do. And you have to realize that a business is fluid. And you have to be able to adjust according to the fluidity of a business. The other thing you have to expect is that no matter what, some people will just not be happy. You cannot be all things to all people. You may think you have the greatest service, the greatest product, the greatest price, the greatest everything, but you will still not please everybody. You have to accept that as a business owner. You will not please everybody. But what you do is you take those experiences from the people that are unhappy, from the people that may think you offered a bad service, that may think you offered a bad product, and it's amazing. No business owner ever thinks they're wrong. Very few. Every business owner always thinks, no, that person's just difficult. They're just a difficult client. No, of course my food tastes good. I like my own food. Who's not going to like their own food? That's okay. Not everyone has to be accepting of your service or your product or like it. But use that to learn from it and adjust and make your business more successful. Another thing you can expect is you have to dig really deep. Having a business is just as, if not more challenging, it's just as challenging as raising children. Your business becomes like your baby, and it is extremely emotionally and physically challenging. If you're not prepared to put in the emotional effort and the physical effort, you're not going to succeed. The other thing is that it is going to affect relationships that you have, whether it's at home or whether it's socially in the community. Because you need to make sacrifices to devote so much time to your business in order to make it succeed, it eventually takes a toll on your social setting and on you as a person. But your work will be more rewarding. Very few business owners hate going to work. They love it. They love what they do. Even though it's physically demanding, emotionally demanding, financially demanding, everything, they love it. They get excited because they're working towards something. They're building something, which most people don't get that opportunity in a day-to-day job. When you're working a day-to-day job, you're building, but for somebody else. And you're doing great work and great customer service for somebody else. But when you're doing it for yourself, it's a pretty amazing feeling. But it takes a lot of effort. And you can expect that from the time you start a business, as your business changes, you will change. As a person, no doubt you will change. You'll become stronger, you'll become more patient. Business helps people develop an unbelievable amount of patience because of the things that you see. And you become more process-driven. You start thinking about things in a different light. You start seeing things very linear. So it really does change you. The next thing we're going to talk about is cash flow. Cash flow is king. And the first statistic I'm going to show you, I really want you to understand this statistic, okay? 90% of all businesses that fail because of cash flow. This is what a business is all about, right here. It's all about cash flow, okay? And cash flow management is one of the hardest things to do in any business. Any business, no matter what it is, cash flow management is extremely difficult. Being profitable does not mean you have good cash flow. Having good profit does not mean you have good cash. You have to remember that. Many businesses have failed, even though they were profitable, because they could not control and they did not have good cash flow management skills. With cash flow, you have to realize, what most business people forget, is that when you run a business, you're spending your cash up front. And you're not necessarily getting your cash back as fast. You have to spend money to make money. You may be earning profit, but you still have to take that money and reinvest it back in the business. So when you reinvest it back in the business, you have to wait again for more cash to come. And the faster you grow, there's a big misconception. Most people think that if your business is growing fast, you're going to start making money fast. Wrong. The faster you grow, the more likely you're going to run into cash flow issues. The more likely you will run out of cash, because that means you have to get your inventories higher, you have to hire people, you have to do more for your business. Fast growth, in fact, the two biggest killers for any business is a business that does not grow, so you can't find enough customers, or you found too many customers and you're growing too fast. Either one leads to the same place, certain business death. And the main culprit is this exactly, it's cash flow. If you have a pharmacy, for example, or you have a restaurant, and your food is so amazing that you start becoming very popular, or your service is so amazing in your pharmacy that you become very popular, and you can't keep up with the demand, what do you start thinking about? You start thinking about, I have to get bigger space. I have to add more staff. I have to add more inventory. I need better systems. You start thinking of things to improve your business. Well, all that takes cash. You can't pay for rent using a credit. Your landlord will laugh at you and say, no, I need cash. But you will sell a service on credit. Everyone will do that. Everyone will say, okay, I'm prepared to do this work, and I'll take a little bit of money up front, and I'm going to do some of the work, and then I'll take more money later. Or, pay me in 30 days. We've all had that before. So you end up spending money faster than it comes in, which is extremely important to manage. You may have a ton of success, but if you cannot manage the cash, you're dead. Being on budget, you can be on budget and still run out of cash. So if you set yourself, okay, I'm going to spend this much money this month. I'm only going to put this much into staffing. I'm only going to put this much into inventory. I'm only going to spend this much on marketing. That's fine. But that's your budget. That's how much you're going to spend. It doesn't mean that money is coming back to you right away. It still takes time for that money to come back. Again, it comes back to cash flow management. And planned revenue never comes in as fast as planned expenses go out. So you know every month you're going to have certain things. You're going to have rent, you're going to have utilities, you're going to have payroll, you're going to have taxes, etc., etc., etc. You're going to have all these costs. But you don't know when that money is actually going to come to you. And more often than not, this was actually surprising. I didn't learn this until I actually got into business. Did you know that the wealthiest people, the people with the most money, are actually the ones that are the worst at paying? The wealthier you are, the worse you become at paying. Why? Because you don't think about it. Most wealthy people don't think about when they have to make their payments or their credit card payments. They just know it's going to happen. Most big companies, the largest companies, and I read an article one time about Walmart. Walmart is one of the worst companies to pay their suppliers. Some of their suppliers have to wait 6 months before they get money back from Walmart. And Walmart has a lot of money. There's no issue with money, but it takes them a lot of time to get money out to their supplier. Cash flow management. They know that you're going to wait, and it's better for me to hold on to that cash because I can make money with that cash in my bank account instead of giving it to you. And you're not going to go anywhere because I'm Walmart. And you need me more than I need you. But as a small business, if you're selling a product to Walmart, you need that cash now. I don't have the money you guys have. I need it now. So cash management is extremely important. And being able to manage your receivables is important. Receivables is the money that comes in. You may have money that's owing to you. You have to take time to collect. If you don't take time to collect, you're going to put yourself in a cash flow problem. You have to take time to be able to collect money from the people you've sold products to or services to. And managing payables. Just like Walmart, who says, I need to control my cash, and I need to be able to distribute that cash on a controlled basis, even to my suppliers. As a business owner, you have to do the same thing as well. Just because an invoice comes in to pay, can you afford to pay it right now? You have to make sure you prioritize what are some of the most important things you pay first. You don't have a lot of cash when you first start. Do you pay rent first? Or do you pay, one of your suppliers? Probably your supplier. Probably the renter. You have to keep the business open. Your suppliers can wait a little bit. But you have to understand how to manage cash flow. You don't just take all the money in. You don't just spend all the money immediately. And you have to control when the money comes in as well. If you cannot do this part, your business is destined to fail. But you have to be able to manage finances. You have to plan for these things as well. The other thing where cash flow becomes a big problem is unexpected expenses. Things will happen. We said earlier that there are things that will happen that you don't plan for. Okay? Every startup, every business has unplanned expenses. So, things like, we just had a flood in 2013. There were a lot of businesses, even though they had insurance, they did not survive the floods of 2013 because they did not have cash flow. They could not survive. They may have got money back for their building, their space, their inventory, but they weren't selling anything. So they didn't have cash flow. It cost them their business. If you have a key employee, if you have a manager, if you have somebody that you lose in the business, those are unplanned expenses. You now have to put money in to try to get somebody quickly. It costs money. Unplanned. Even something as small as, we live in a digital world now, something as small as a bad consumer complaint online, on Google, on Yelp, or somebody going to the Better Business Bureau complaining about your business, it costs money to fix this stuff. It's unplanned expenses. So this is the kind of stuff you have to consider when you're managing cash, these unanticipated expenses. Another thing that a lot of people don't think about is the seasonality of a business. Your business, for example, if you have a lawn mowing business, that means your business is primarily operating in the summer. And if you decide in the winter you're going to add snow shoveling, that means you're primarily operating in the winter. But there's also spring and fall in between where you might not have as many customers. So most of your cash is going to come in one season, and you have to be able to manage the cash through the seasons that you don't have as much money. It's the same thing with a restaurant. With a restaurant, most of the business will come in warmer months. Businesses tend to drop off in the winter months. We all tend to stay home in the winter. We don't spend as much money. We live in a seasonal country. More money gets spent in the summer, less money gets spent in the winter. So you have to plan for these things with cash flow. Cash flow management becomes key, because if you don't, and you spend all the money that came in the, during the peak time, you have nothing left to operate during low times. The last thing we're going to talk about today is staffing. Staffing is another one of those important things that if it's not done properly, it can seriously hurt your business. If it is done properly, it can seriously improve your business. So things to think about with staffing. Human resources and staffing is one of the most significant investments you will make in a business. Human capital is one of the biggest costs of any business. Hiring staff is you're taking your business to a different level when you start hiring people. Having the right number of people in a business with the right skills is going to determine whether you're going to be successful or whether you're going to fail. If you have too many people, that means you're paying out too much, you're not going to have enough cash flow, you're going to fail. If you don't have enough people, that means you're going to upset your clients, they're not getting the service they want, you're going to end up losing a bunch of money, you're going to fail. If you have the right number of people, but you have people with the wrong skills, that means you're going to serve your clients bad, you're going to fail. This is crucial to have the right number of people with the right skill set. We talked about this, when having the wrong people or too many people will eventually cost you your business. So things to consider when you're hiring for. And this is aside from the cash part, aside from the money, aside from understanding if you can actually afford to pay an employee. And that's a big thing to think about, because if you're bringing on more help and you have to pay someone, and you started up a business by yourself, that means less money for you. Because now you have to spread them. It is a big cost when you start hiring people. So you have to determine who you need. And the better you understand the position for the person you're hiring for, the better you're able to manage having the right number of people and having the right skill set. Being able to create job descriptions. And there's a lot of resources online for any type of job description to create the right description and get the right, set the right expectations for employees. Sorry. Consider at first, when you're first starting to hire people, consider not to hire salaried people, but hire freelancers. Hire people at hourly costs versus hiring people with salary. For a startup, this is important because it allows you to control costs and it allows you to mitigate some of the overhead costs that comes with hiring staff. We all work at companies, or some of us manage companies, and we know that the cost of an employee is not just what you pay in salary. There's benefits you have to think about. There's infrastructure you have to think about. There is tools that's needed. There's training that's needed. There's a lot of additional costs that come with staffing. There's a lot of issues that come with it. So consider it first to hire people on hourly and freelancing versus salaried people. And you have to understand the laws and the rights of employees. Most businesses do not understand this, and they end up getting significantly hurt because of this. Unfortunately, for a business owner, employees in a lot of situations have more rights than the employer. So if you hire the wrong person, you may be stuck with that person for a long time. And it may be very challenging to get that person out of your business. In fact, something as simple as an employee saying, something as simple as this, an employee saying, I am stressed. This work is causing me stress, mental stress. As soon as they say that to you, you cannot get rid of somebody. That means you could hold on to them for a year. And if you try to get rid of them, they can sue you for human rights violations. I'm not even exaggerating. It's not even a joke. So making sure you have the right people and making sure you understand the rights of employees is extremely important before you go down this road. But also understanding what the rights of employers are. Employers also do have rights. There are things employers can do. I hear this from people all the time, because a lot of people come and ask me this question. They say, my employer just let me go for no reason. They didn't give me a reason, they just let me go. And my answer to them is, they're allowed to. An employer can let anybody go at any time, for whatever reason, without having to give a reason, as long as they pay out the proper amount. As long as they pay the person the proper amount, employers have rights as well. So you have to understand the laws of employee and employer on both sides. You can't just say, I'm mad at a person, I'm going to fire them. It doesn't work like that. Unless you're prepared to pay a bunch of money. If you're prepared to pay a bunch of money, you can say that. If you can't fire them, there's ways to do it. And if an employee wants to be malicious and they want to hurt you, they can. There's ways that they can hurt you just to try to get money out of you. And you don't have a choice but to go along with it. You have to try to figure out things. So it starts costing you legal fees and stuff. It's a very, very sensitive issue. And it's actually the single hardest thing to manage in any business. Managing people as your business grows is the most challenging thing. It's actually a lot harder than cash flow. But knowing this stuff is very important. Knowing the rights for on both sides is extremely important. Being able to create a happy culture in your business is always better. If you have a business that does not have a good culture, or has a tense culture, or a stressful culture, you will end up failing, because you'll run into a lot of problems with staffing that you don't want to. So it's better to have a happy culture and an open culture than a poisonous one. And invest in people. Every study, there is multiple studies out there. You can read this on your own, that most employees are happier when they're challenged and engaged and properly trained than they are by just offering money. Offering money does not solve problems. It does not make employee issues go away. They may think so in the short term because they're getting extra money in their pocket, but eventually they go back to complaining ways. Unless they're challenged, engaged, and happy in their work environment. And especially for new businesses, because most business owners want to be in business to be their own boss. And that's good, you can be your own boss. But when you start adding employees, you don't be the boss. You be the leader. have to be able to lead people, not boss people. They need to be able to see that the owner of the business can do everything from mopping the floor to stocking a shelf to the accounting. Business owner has to be able to do everything. And if employees, if your staff see you doing everything, they're more likely to follow you and do like you versus saying, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, which is a big mentality for a lot of business owners. They want to be managers that just tell people what to do versus actually running a business. That's a really important thing in a business, right? In fact, I tell people all the time that within my own company, the way we operate in terms of management and staff is most companies will have a pyramid where you've got the president at the top, and then you'll have vice presidents, and then you'll have managers, and then you'll have employees. The way we operate our business is the opposite of that. It's an upside down triangle, where the president is actually at the bottom. So you have your staff at the top, and then your managers, and then your vice presidents, and then the president is at the very bottom. And why? Because even though the employees will report to the managers, and the managers will report to the vice president, and the vice president will report to the president, the support system has to go the other way. The president will support and work for the vice president to make sure that they're getting at all the skills and tools they need to succeed. And the vice presidents are supporting their managers to make sure that they have the skills and tools that they need to succeed. And the managers are supporting the staff so that they have the skills and the support that they need. It's a support system upside down. And if you think of your business like that, you're more likely to succeed than if you're sitting at the top and telling everybody what to do. So that's the last thing I've got for staffing essentials. Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about?
What do you mean about the cash management? Like savings cash, emergency situations?
Yeah, definitely always have cash around for emergencies.
Savings.
Savings is one thing. It's not just savings. It's being able to manage your inflow versus your outflow. So it's managing the expenses that you have to pay versus the revenue and the money that you have coming in. I mean, think about this. Let's say you have a very successful business, right? And you're selling a product, and you have a lot of inventory on the shelf, right? Well, when you're selling your product at a 50% margin. Is it profitable? Yes, it's very profitable. But all your cash is tied up in the inventory that's sitting on your shelf. So you're not controlling the outflow with the inflow. You spent all the money on inventory. You didn't decide to buy less until you start generating cash. So it's not just a matter of savings. And I see Joe is in the back, and he'll understand this. Most businesses have lines of credit to be able to manage cash flow and have emergency cash around just in case. But most businesses will actually operate in negative cash positions because they're waiting for money, but they have to spend money. They have payroll, they have rent, until they get a bunch of money in, and then they have to spend it all over again. They go into a negative cash position again. But they have lines of credits to be able to manage that. It's a pretty common thing, right, Joe? Yeah. Cash flow management is extremely important. It's not just savings, it's managing inflow versus outflow of cash. Any other questions? No? So next week we're going to do one last session. And next week's session is all going to be about marketing. Basically how to market in this environment, how to grow your business in this kind of environment, what are some of the the new tactics to find clients and market and grow